All right, so we'll see these questions. There is one question. Law is a means of attaining social harmony by curbing of evil passion of men. Explain. Okay, so now when we talk about law as law being necessary in order to curb the evil passion of men, there are two viewpoints that we have. Okay, whether man is good or bad. So there are two views among who look at law as a means of attaining social harmony by curbing the evil passion of men. So we attain social harmony in a place or in a society with the help of laws. And how do we do that? By putting a restriction on the evil passion of men, the evil desires that we have within us. Law puts a restriction on it because we know that there are these certain laws applicable. If we do not follow it, we will have to face the consequences. So law in a way puts a restriction on those evil passions, and that's how law maintains harmony in the society. It allows people to live peacefully in the society. So when we talk about two viewpoints, one view is that man's nature was intrinsically evil and that no social progress could be attained without restraints of penal laws. So one view says that we have this thing inherently within us. Inherently, we have some like a evil side of us, and until and unless we do not put restrictions on that evil side with the help of laws, with the help of penal restrictions, it's not possible that we can live peacefully in the society. It's not possible that we can live together peacefully. Okay, so when we talk about restrictions of penal laws, what does that mean? What do you think restrictions of penal laws are? Penal laws, like you might have heard of Indian Penal Code, right? Have you heard of it?
Yes, ma'am. IPC.
IPC. So what is IPC all about? Have you seen IPC?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so what is mentioned there? IPC is nothing but Indian Penal Code, right? When we say penal code, as in it provides for some punishments. Okay, so what kind of punishments are being provided? It classifies different types of offenses that may be committed in India. That if you do this certain thing, it's considered as this crime and this is the punishment for it. Like that, different crimes are being mentioned, like see offenses against state, offenses affecting army, offenses against public tranquility, offenses relating to public servants. Like that, we have different classification of offenses. And also it says, if you commit this certain sort of offense, this will be the punishment. It's nothing but a penal law, right? So when we say that IPC defines different types of crimes and also provides for punishments, it's nothing but restriction of penal law. IPC is putting restrictions on us that you cannot do these certain things, otherwise it will be a punishable offense. It will be considered as a crime. Right? So first view says that we have this evil thing within us and it's not possible without having penal restrictions. It's not possible that we would behave properly. Like you can take our own example itself, right? Unless and until we have a legislation called Motor Vehicles Act, which puts restrictions on us by way of imposing fines, we tend to break the traffic rules. Nobody is willing to wait there for hours altogether, right? So it's nothing but, again, we have this tendency within us. Okay, another view is that man was originally created good by nature. Okay, initially man was good only, they were created good by nature, but then due to sin, corruption, or some other internal weaknesses, such as greed for material wealth and gain, like the concept of property gain, which also created insecurities within us. Number of people increased. As a result, there also some like greed increased amongst people. So man's original and true nature has become distorted and thus required for its control by rigorous punitive system of law. So initially, when number of people were less and resources were abundant, at that point in time, people were all good. People were not jealous of each other. People were not trying to cause harm to one another. No problem was there in the society. But because number of people increased and resources became scarce, there the problem arose. The concept of property came. People realized the importance of owning a certain thing, possessing a certain thing, and that's how it has developed. Right? This evil things within people has also developed. They saw sin, they saw corruption, and they also had some weaknesses within themselves, like the weakness of greed. They could not control their greed, so they ended up committing some wrong. Right? Because all of these things developed, we needed some laws, or we needed a punitive system which would provide for punishment in case we do something wrong, so that while thinking about the punishment we behave ourselves. Those profound this view look back at the golden age when men lived simple, happy, and well ordered lives without the need for any external system of legal rules or coercion to restrain their impulses, which were wholly unselfish and directed to the common good of mankind. So there was a time, there was golden age wherein everyone was living happily with one another. There was no problem, no issues in the society. We did not need any external system of legal rules. We had this thing within us only. We were always concerned about being morally right. Without even existence of any sort of legal rules, we were able to behave properly. We were uh, not no, like deviated by any sort of uh, impulses or any sort of evils or anything. We were behaving properly only without the coercion or restraint of any sort of legal rules on our impulses. When we say coercion, it's not but forcefully imposing something on us. Right now, you might not feel like following the traffic signal, but then you don't have the option. Otherwise, you need to pay fine. That's why you follow it. That's nothing but coercion, right? Forcefully, something is made applicable to us. Otherwise, we will face punishment or the fine that is there. So in golden age, this was not needed. Any sort of external legal rules were not required. People were behaving properly. People were unselfish and they were directed towards common good of mankind. What is good or what is beneficial for the society at large, that they were more concerned with. Writers like Seneca, Rousseau, and others had this view. So they were of the view that at that point in time, people were all happy. So Rousseau is one of the jurists who supported the social contract theory. He said that initially there was no problem. People were living peacefully. People were highly unselfish. They thought about benefit or common good only. Okay, but human history and experience shows that law is a great civilizing force in human society, and growth of society is linked with the gradual development of the system of legal rules and the machinery to enforce them. We have seen in history, right? We have seen in history and we have seen from our experiences that it is law only which helps us regulate our actions, our behavior. During COVID also we have seen, right? People were not willing to follow quarantine rules. They were going out without waiting for 14 days wait period. But then when they saw of FIRs are being filed, people are sent to prison for 1 month or something like that, then they started obeying it because they had no other option, right? Rather than facing the consequences, they felt like, okay, let's follow the rules. That's nothing but it's also like a history. It's also like an experience that we have seen ourselves, right? That until and unless something was mandatory, it was not being followed. Same way is wearing mask. We were not willing to wear mask while going outside. We felt suffocated and whatnot. But then when it was made mandatory on us that otherwise fine will be imposed, people started wearing masks. right? So this is nothing but what we have seen, what we have experienced, that law is a great civilizing force in human society. Even if we do not feel like following it because it's mandatory, because it comes with consequences, we end up following it anyway. The growth of society is linked with the gradual development of system of legal rules and a machinery to enforce them. With the growth of society, laws will also evolve. We cannot have one single law that applies every single day and for many years. Laws also would change with time, depending on the need of the society, right? Depending on changing needs of the society. And just having the laws is also not enough. We need a machinery to enforce them also. So what is a machinery? Any example you can give me which enforces the laws that we have today? Who enforces the laws?
Sorry, ma'am.
Who enforces the laws in India? Which body, which department, which organ enforces laws?
Police and
Police. Yeah, police may impose fines on us. That's nothing but enforcement. Also, courts are there, right?
state.
Apart from courts also we have some commissions, committees, tribunals are there, right? All of that also nothing but enforcement mechanism only. Okay, some legislations may be there wherein you will see a regular courts, we will go for its violation. IPC, violation of any provision of IPC, we will go to the regular courts, magistrate court, sessions court. Same ways, if it is violation of motor vehicles act, might be we will go to a tribunal which is set up under the legislation, motor accident claims tribunal. That's a specialized body set up only for matters relating to motor accident, right? Like that we have different enforcement authorities or enforcement organs also who help enforcement of the laws. Laws are not found in vacuum but found alongside moral codes. When we talk about laws, as such, it has not just originated from something, right? It has originated from moral codes. We say that this certain thing is what should happen, right? If I have suffered loss because of another person, probably the another person should face punishment or I should get compensation. What is actually right, what we should actually receive, in that line only laws have developed, right? If somebody has done some wrong and they had bad intention, guilty minds they had, we should punish that person and we should try to correct that person. Or in case something just happened like that without any bad intention and I have suffered loss, I should be compensated, right? Like that, in that line laws have developed. We have different types of punishments under criminal law. We have different sorts of remedies or reliefs provided under civil law. All of that is developed in line of what should happen, what is correct. In that line only it has developed. When we talk about a society, it's a combination of large groups of people having differences in terms of their opinions, likes, dislikes, etc. We all are different from one another in so many different ways, right? So in absence of laws, members of the society will try to satisfy their own evil passions that may create conflict and discomfort for the majority. Because we are so different from one another, if we are left free that you can do whatever you feel like, it will create a lot of confusion, a lot of problem in the society. We will just think about what we want to do, right? And if we start doing like that, it will create chaos in the society. But just because we have legal rules, we have some restrictions on our actions and behavior, we try to behave properly, and that's why it's possible for us to live like a society, right? Otherwise I may feel like, okay, I want to play loud music at 1 o'clock at night and dance all night. My neighbors are going to suffer in that case, right? Or someone might feel like, okay, I want pin drop silence during the daytime also. That's not possible, right? Obviously if you are living in a society, you are going to hear some noise here and there. There are certain things which you should try to ignore. There are certain things which are beyond what can be tolerated. Like that, laws have developed. Thus, to minimize conflict of opinion or interest in the society, we need laws. Definitely, we cannot put an end to conflicts in the society, as we all are different from one another. But what we can do is we can try to minimize conflict. Okay, we can try to minimize conflict by way of different laws or different legislations. For example, if there is a contract entered into between parties and later on parties do not end up following the contractual obligations, what should be done, how it can be resolved, that's also nothing but decided by way of laws only. So laws are directives that govern and regulate human behavior. They are made for people within a territory to abide by. When we say laws are made for people within a territory to abide by, laws will have something called a scope of a legislation. Okay, what is scope of a legislation? Can you tell me? What does scope mean?
Scope.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Scope we say. Okay, so like we say, right, what is the scope after doing LLB? As in, after doing LLB, what all different options you have? Maybe you can go, you can join litigation, you can go teach somewhere, you can join a corporate. That's nothing but scope, right? What all options you have, right? Or what is the extent where all you can go? Same ways when we say scope of a legislation, as in wherein all this legislation can be applied. Okay, that's nothing but scope or extent of a legislation. So laws are they are made for people within a territory to abide by. So whenever a legislation is passed, it also will specify where this legislation is applicable. Say if you open and it's usually in the first section itself, it mentions where it is applicable. This is nothing but scope or extent of a legislation, wherein all it extends. That's nothing but scope. So if you open Indian Contract Act, it says this legislation is applicable to the whole of India. Ignore this part. Okay, now this part has been removed after Jammu and Kashmir is divided in two union territories, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. This part is now removed. So Indian Contract Act is applicable to whole of India. So its scope or extent is entire India. Same ways, if you open a legislation, maybe Bombay Municipal Corporation Act. Bombay Municipal Corporation Act, it extends only to Mumbai only, right? So like that, different legislations would have scope. So apart from Mumbai, it is not extending to any other part. Like that, scope is always mentioned, and for people living in that specified area or territory only, laws are being passed. Central legislations are mostly applicable in entire India. State legislations will be applicable in the state. Municipal legislations are applicable in the municipal areas. Maintenance of order is thus one amongst main essence of law. So law mainly tries to maintain order and peace in the society. Law is a means of attaining social harmony by curbing of evil passions of men. Whether you talk about legislations that are applicable to us as resident of India, or as resident of Karnataka, or as maybe a student of KSLU, all of these are nothing but regulating evil passion of men, right? We might not feel like studying and then appearing for exam. We might feel like degree should be given to us just like that, but that will not happen, right? Why it will not happen? Because KSLU have some rules and regulations that you need to appear for internals, you need to submit your assignments, you need to give presentation, you need to maintain minimum attendance, then you will be able to appear for finals. Once you do good in your finals, then only degree will be given to you, right? That's nothing but whatever we desire, we cannot just fulfill everything. Law is there to regulate that. Okay, is it clear?
Yes,